The night was cold and silent. The wind passed through the trees, making a soft whistling sound. Ethan sat alone in his small cabin at the edge of the forest, reading an old book. He lived far from the city, far from people, and he liked it that way. No noise, no crowds, just peace. But tonight, that peace was broken. A strange sound came from the front door. A soft thump, like something had fallen. Ethan looked up, confused. He wasn't expecting anyone. No one ever came this far. He walked slowly to the door and opened it. His eyes widened. There, lying on the wooden steps, was a figure. It was a woman, or at least she looked like one. But something was different. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing under the moonlight. Her hair was silver and tangled. Her body thin and shaking. Her clothes were torn, covered in dirt and strange black stains. She was barefoot, bleeding from a wound on her leg, and her eyes, half open, were glowing with a soft violet light. Ethan froze. Was she human? Was this a joke? A costume? But no. Something inside him said this was real. This woman, this being, was not from Earth. She tried to speak, her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then she collapsed completely, her body falling forward. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. She was cold, very cold. He felt her pulse weak, but still there. He looked around the dark forest. No one was there. No spaceship, no tracks, just her. Ethan didn't know what to do. Call the police? The army? But some strange feeling stopped him. He carried her inside, carefully placing her on the couch. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. He brought a blanket and wrapped it around her, then ran to the kitchen and poured warm water into a cup. He touched it to her lips, and she sipped, just a little. Her eyes opened for a second, then closed again. Ethan sat beside her, staring. He had read about aliens in books, seen them in movies, but never had he thought one would show up at his door. She was not scary, not threatening. She looked afraid. Hours passed. The fire kept burning in the fireplace. Ethan didn't sleep. He watched her, waiting for her to wake again. At one point, she whispered something. It was not English, but he heard one word clearly. Help. The next morning, she woke up fully. She looked around the room, eyes wide, alert. When she saw Ethan, she tried to get up, panicking. He raised his hand slowly. It's okay, he said. You're safe. She didn't respond, but her breathing slowed. Then she touched her chest and spoke again. Broken English this time. No hurt. Please, Ethan nodded. I won't hurt you, he said softly. What's your name? She paused, then said, Riha. Ethan repeated it. Riha. She gave a weak smile. He asked, where are you from? But she shook her head, too weak to explain, too scared to trust. Then she pointed to the door, her hand shaking. Trackers, she whispered. They follow. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Who were these trackers? Were they coming here? What danger had he just let inside his home? Still, he looked at Rhea. She didn't look dangerous. She looked lost, starving, scared. And somehow, he felt responsible now. He got up and locked all the doors and windows, then sat back down, watching her fall asleep again. Her breathing was slow, peaceful now, but Ethan's mind was racing. Why was she here? Why did she choose his doorstep? And why did it feel like something much bigger was about to begin? As night returned and the wind whispered through the trees again, Ethan didn't know if he had made the right choice, but deep inside, he knew one thing for sure. That alien woman now needed him, and he couldn't turn his back. Then suddenly, just before sleep took her, Riha opened her eyes and said one final thing. Don't let them find me. Asterisk. The morning sun pushed its way through the trees, but Ethan's cabin felt colder than before. Riha slept on the couch, her silver hair spread like soft wires across the pillow. Ethan hadn't slept, his eyes fixed on the door, every sound outside making him jump. He kept hearing her words on repeat. Don't let them find me. He didn't know who they were, but the fear in her voice was real, too real. He made a pot of tea and placed a steaming cup near her, then sat on the floor with his back against the wall, watching her breathe. When Riha opened her eyes, she didn't panic this time. She sat up slowly, still weak but alert. Her eyes moved across the room, landing on Ethan. He noticed her posture, like a soldier. Not a victim. Her body might have been fragile, but something about her felt trained. Careful, Ethan spoke softly. You're safe here. She nodded slowly, but didn't relax. Instead, she looked down at her wrist, and something strange happened. A soft blue light appeared under her skin, like veins glowing beneath the surface. She pressed her palm over the light, closing her eyes for a moment. Ethan watched in silence. Finally, she spoke, her words slow and broken, but clear enough. You, human, yes? Ethan blinked, then nodded. Yeah, 100%. Riha tilted her head like she was studying him. You saved me. Ethan gave a tired smile. I couldn't leave you outside, he said, even if you're, well, not from around here. Riha's lips curved into a soft smile, but it didn't last. Her face turned serious again. They will come, she said. Trackers, fast, cruel, no voice, no soul. Ethan leaned forward. Why are they after you? She hesitated. Looking at her glowing wrist, I escaped, she said. From ship, from prison. Prison? Ethan repeated. You were a prisoner? She nodded. Not for crime, for information. Ethan didn't understand. What kind of information? Riha looked down. Avoiding his eyes, she touched her chest again. Inside me, she said quietly. Something they want, something dangerous. He stared at her. What's inside you? She didn't answer, just looked out the window, her face tight with worry. Suddenly, the cabin lights flickered. A high-pitched buzzing filled the air for just a second. Ethan stood up, heart racing. What was that? Riha's eyes widened. They found signal, she said. They know I'm here. Ethan ran to the window and looked out. The forest was still, but something felt wrong. The birds weren't singing. The trees weren't moving. It was like the world was holding its breath. Riha stood now, her body shaking but ready. She looked around the cabin and picked up a metal rod from near the fireplace. It wasn't much, but she held it like a weapon. Ethan grabbed a flashlight and an old hunting knife from the drawer. He didn't know what was coming, but he wasn't going to let her face it alone. They waited in silence. Minutes passed, slow and heavy. Then, a noise, not footsteps, not voices, a soft clicking, like metal tapping against wood. Ethan stepped back from the door. Riha moved beside him, eyes glowing brighter now. The clicking grew louder, closer. Then it stopped, dead silence again. Ethan raised the flashlight and opened the door just a crack. No one was there, just the forest, calm and empty. He stepped outside, slowly, heart thudding in his chest. Riha followed, eyes scanning the trees. Then she pointed, one quick motion. There, in the shadows, something moved. A dark shape slipped between the trees, too smooth to be human. Its skin was black like glass, reflecting no light. It had no face, just a smooth surface where its head should be, and long, sharp arms like blades. Ethan froze. The creature turned its head toward them, no eyes, no mouth. But somehow, it saw them. Riha grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him back inside. Tracker, she said. One only scout, others will come. Ethan locked the door again. Though it felt useless now, he looked at her. What do we do? Riha took a deep breath. Run, she said. But not far. She touched her glowing wrist again. I need your help. My help? Ethan asked, why me? She looked at him with those violet eyes and said, because humans fight, even when they don't understand. Midnight came like a whisper. The world outside Ethan's cabin was frozen in silence. The trees didn't move. The air didn't breathe. It was as if time had paused to watch what was about to happen. Inside, Ethan stood by the window with a flashlight in his hand. He hadn't blinked in minutes. Eyes locked on the forest beyond the glass. Riha sat cross-legged on the floor, her wrist glowing faint blue. She wasn't resting, she was listening, not with her ears, but something. Deeper, her head tilted slightly, like she could hear the forest's heartbeat. The cabin felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in, like the shadows were crawling closer with every tick of the clock. Ethan wanted to ask 100 questions, but none of them mattered right. Now he only needed one answer. How many are coming? Riha looked up slowly. 3, she said, her voice barely a breath. Scout returned with signal. Now hunters follow. Ethan's mouth went dry. Hunters. He wasn't ready for this. Not even close. But he looked at Riha, her face calm despite the fear in her eyes. If she wasn't giving up, neither was he. He locked every window, pushed furniture in front of the back door, took an old rifle from the closet, dusty, unused, for years, and checked if it still worked. Riha watched him, curious. That? She asked, nodding at the weapon. Ethan gave a nervous laugh. It's not much, but I'd rather hold something than nothing. Then the noise returned, that same clicking sound, only now it wasn't soft. It was louder, clearer, and closer. It echoed around the cabin like nails tapping glass. One click, then another, then dozens. Ethan moved to the front door and peeked through the cracks. His heart dropped. They were there, 3 dark figures moving between the trees. Their bodies didn't walk. They flowed, smooth, like liquid metal. Their heads turned toward the cabin without eyes, yet they saw. Then one of them raised its arm, and everything exploded. The front window shattered, glass flying like sharp rain. Ethan dove to the floor, pulling Riha down with him. A second later, something crashed into the wall. A weapon, a claw, he didn't know. But the wood cracked deep. They were trying to break through. Ethan crawled toward the back, yelling, "We have to run now." But Riha shook her head. No, they track. Heat, motion, movement. She pulled a small disc from inside her clothing, no bigger than a coin. She pressed it to the floor, and suddenly the lights dimmed. Everything went cold. The fireplace died. The air turned still. What did you do? Ethan whispered. Shadow shield, she said. They can't see us for now. Outside, the clicking stopped. No more breaking glass, no more movement. The forest was silent again. Too silent. Ethan stood slowly, his hands still shaking. He looked out the broken window. Nothing. No sound, no movement. Just darkness and the sharp smell of burnt wood. Then Riha gasped. She grabbed her side in pain, her skin glowing brighter for a second. What is it? Ethan asked. Rushing to her. They scanned me, she said, voice tight, tracking my pulse. The return. Ethan had had enough. We can't stay here, he said. They'll tear this place apart. Riha looked at him with tired eyes. There's a place, she whispered. Old lab north of here, buried deep underground. Ethan knew the place. It was shut down years ago. An abandoned research site. He had worked there once, a long time ago. Full of tech, silent halls, broken machines. Why? There, he asked. Riha touched her chest, where her implant glowed through her skin. Because inside me is something meant for humans, she said. Only your kind can unlock it. Before he could respond, a sharp screech tore through the air, high-pitched and cold, like metal screaming. One of the creatures had found them again. The wall shook, and a long blade slid through the wood, slicing across the room. Ethan grabbed Ria's hand. Forget hiding, he said. We run. She nodded. No argument this time. They moved quickly, slipping out through the back window. The cold night air hit them like a wall, but they didn't stop. The forest swallowed them as they ran, one human, one alien. Together, hunted. Behind them, the cabin groaned under the pressure of the invaders. A soft voice echoed from inside, mechanical, unnatural. She cannot escape. But Riha had already escaped once. And now she had Ethan, and for the first time, she wasn't running alone. Asterisk. The forest never felt this deep. Every tree looked the same, tall and silent. Branches reached out like arms, shadows twisted like watching eyes. Ethan's breath came heavy, not from running, but from the weight of not knowing what came next. He'd never seen anything like those creatures, and now he was running through the dark with an alien woman who said she was hiding something inside her body. Riha didn't complain. She moved fast despite her injury, as if fear gave her fuel. Her skin glowed faintly in the dark, not enough to be seen from afar, but just enough for Ethan to follow. The glow wasn't just under her skin, though. It came from deep inside her, like she was carrying something alive beneath her bones. They finally reached the old research lab. It sat sunken in the earth like a forgotten bunker, its roof covered in moss and dirt. A metal hatch marked with rust was half buried under leaves and silence. Ethan pried it open with effort, and they climbed down into the cold, dusty dark. Inside, everything smelled like old wires and dead air. The walls were lined with cracked monitors and broken cables. "This place hasn't had power in years," Ethan said, wiping dust from a control panel. Riha didn't answer. She walked straight to a tall metal terminal in the corner. She placed her hand on it, and the screen flickered to life. Ethan stepped back. "What the hell?" "No time," she said. "Your machines speak to me." He stared at her hand. The light under her skin flowed into the terminal like liquid data. The machine hummed, recognized something, and started unlocking files that were sealed for decades. "What's happening?" he asked. Riha didn't look at him. "You asked why they want me," she said. "It's not just me, it's what I carry." She turned toward him, her expression soft but serious. "I was built for peace," she said, "but filled with war." "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, voice lower now. "I hold a key," she said, placing her hand on her chest again. "Not to weapons, but to awakening." Ethan blinked. "What kind of awakening?" She looked around the lab, at the old tech. The silent servers, the walls that once buzzed with life. "Your species," she said. "They sleep, not in body but in mind." She walked to a console and tapped it gently. "Before the war began in my part of the galaxy, your planet was visited. DNA samples were taken. Messages were left. Humanity was meant to grow into something greater." Ethan crossed his arms, trying to take it all in. "And your people messed that up," he said. Rhea's eyes dimmed slightly. "My people tried to protect the plan," she said. "But others corrupted it." She opened the front of her jacket, revealing a line of small, silver nodes embedded down her chest. Each one pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. "These carry fragments of that original message," she said. "Data meant to unlock the next phase of human potential." Ethan's voice cracked. "And they put all that inside you." "I volunteered," she said. "I believed Earth was worth saving." He wanted to laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was insane. An alien was telling him humans were chosen for something, that they were meant to evolve into something better. And now she was asking him to help unlock that. Then she winced, clutching her side. One of the silver nodes blinked red. "They're trying to shut me down remotely," she said, breathing harder. "They know I've connected to your systems." Ethan rushed to the console. "Can we copy the data?" "Move it somewhere else." Riha shook her head. "It's linked to my life," she said. "If I die, the message dies." He stared at her. For a long moment, "You came to Earth carrying the future of humanity," he whispered. "And now you're running for your life in the woods." Riha gave a weak smile. "Not what I planned," she said. "But I didn't plan to find someone like you either." Before Ethan could respond, a deep thud echoed above them. The floor vibrated. Another thud, closer, heavier. "They found us again," Riha whispered. Ethan gritted his teeth and grabbed a metal pipe. "We're not running this time," he said. "They want what's inside you. Then they'll have to get through me first." Rhea's eyes met his for the first time, without fear, just trust, just something deeper. She placed a hand on his arm. "Then we fight," she said, "as one." The lab shook again. Dust fell from the ceiling like ash from a dying sky. Ethan could hear the sound now. Not just movement, but breathing, heavy, mechanical breathing, cold and unnatural. It was getting closer, not running, not rushing, just approaching, slow, certain, like it already knew they had nowhere left to go. Riha leaned against the wall, one hand still pressed to her chest, her skin pale under the dim light. The silver nodes down her body blinked faintly. One was no longer glowing. Her life was linked to those, and one had just gone dark. "We need to move," Ethan said. "There's another exit through the maintenance tunnel." But Riha didn't move. She was listening again. Her eyes closed, then she opened them, sharp and focused. "Only one of them," she said. "Just one." Ethan frowned. "One? That's not like before." Riha stepped forward, standing straighter. "This one is different." A loud clang echoed through the hallway. The door at the far end of the lab creaked open, slow and loud. Then a figure stepped in. Its body was tall and thin, black as oil, with arms too long for comfort. Its face was smooth metal. No eyes, no mouth, just a blank surface that caught the light and threw it back like a mirror. But this one didn't move like the others. It didn't crawl or attack or slice through walls. It walked, calm, upright, like it belonged there. Ethan raised the pipe in his hand, heart pounding. "Stay back," he warned. The tracker didn't stop. Then, without warning, it spoke, a voice, not robotic, but human, clear, smooth, and strangely familiar. "Ethan," it said. "I mean you no harm." Ethan froze. His name, that voice, it wasn't possible. He stepped back, eyes wide. "Who are you?" he asked. The tracker tilted its head. "I'm what you could have been," it said. "What you were meant to become," Riha stepped between them, her hand glowing now, ready to fight. "Liar," she hissed. "You wear a voice like skin." The tracker turned toward her. "You're dying, Riha," it said, calm as ice. "You used the last of your core to speak to their machines." Ethan felt the air tighten around him. "What does that mean?" he asked. "What is this?" Tracker didn't move. "It means," it said, "she didn't tell you everything." Ethan turned to Riha. She didn't speak, just stared at the floor, ashamed. "Tell him," the tracker said, its voice now softer. "Tell him what you were made for." "I told him the truth," Riha snapped. "I carry knowledge, the message, the key, but not all of it." The tracker replied, "You were also the failsafe." Ethan looked between them. "What's going on?" "What failsafe?" Riha looked at him now, truly looked at him, her eyes wet but strong. "If I die," she said, "the data dies. But if I live too long, the data becomes dangerous." Ethan didn't understand. "I don't get it," he said. "Dangerous to who?" "To everyone," she answered. "It was meant to evolve slowly, but something inside me." It grew faster. The tracker stepped forward. "She's unstable," it said. "She came to help, yes, but now she is a threat." And Ethan's grip on the pipe tightened. He didn't believe it, couldn't believe it. She had saved him, trusted him, called him family. Could all that be a lie? "You speak like a man," Ethan said to the tracker, "but you don't feel like one." "Why should I trust you?" The tracker paused. Then it did something Ethan didn't expect. It removed its helmet, or maybe its face. And underneath was not metal, not wires, but skin, human skin, pale and smooth. A man's face, his eyes dark, familiar. Ethan gasped. "You?" The tracker nodded. "You know me," it said. "I worked here before the shutdown." "You read my research." Ethan's mind raced. This was Dr. Kellen, one of the lead scientists from the old lab, presumed dead for years. "How are you still alive?" Ethan whispered. "I evolved," the man said. "Fused with tracker tech. Became part of their network. But I kept my mind." He looked at Riha again. "She carries the future," he said. "But a future too soon. Can become a weapon." Ethan stepped back, heart torn in two directions. The woman who saved him might destroy him. The man who warns him became something not quite human. "Choose," Dr. Kellen said. "Come with me and stop her, or protect her and risk everything." Riha looked at Ethan, her voice small but steady. "You saved me once." She said, "Will you still? Choose me, even now." Ethan stared at both of them, one hand holding a weapon, the other hand trembling, and in that moment, the future hung on a single breath. Ethan didn't speak, not right away. The lab was quiet again, too quiet, like the walls were waiting to hear which side he would choose. One step forward meant safety, logic, maybe even survival. One step back meant trust, loyalty, the unknown. But he wasn't thinking like a soldier or a scientist. He was thinking like a man who'd held an alien woman in his arms as she whispered, "Help!" He looked at Riha, her eyes dim, her body trembling, not from fear, but from something deeper, a slow failure spreading under her skin. She was breaking, node by node, cell by cell, and yet she stood, still ready to protect him. Then he looked at the man. Dr. Kellen, once human, now something else. There was no anger on his face, only calm. He didn't raise a weapon, didn't force a choice. He simply stood there, waiting, certain he was right. Ethan dropped the pipe to the floor. It clanged against the metal with a heavy echo. "I'm not choosing sides," he said quietly. "I'm choosing someone who chose me first." He stepped beside Riha. Her eyes widened, her lips parted, but no words came out, only a shaky breath that sounded like relief. Kellen didn't move. "You understand this means war," he said. Ethan nodded. "I'd rather face a war with someone I trust." The tracker mask slid back over Kellen's face. His voice lost its warmth. "Then protect her if you can," he said. Before vanishing into the shadows, the moment he disappeared, Riha fell. Her knees gave out and she collapsed into Ethan's arms. Her breathing was shallow, her glow barely there. One more node had gone dark. "I've got you," Ethan said, holding her close. "You're not going out." Like this, he carried her deeper into the lab, through broken corridors and dead elevators, until they reached the lower level, the core room. Here, the machine still hummed, faint but alive. Ethan laid her down on the floor and rushed to the main console. Old memories came flooding back. Command codes, system resets, neural bridge access. He had worked this system years ago, when it was just lines of code and blinking lights. Now it was her only chance. He connected Riha's pulse reader to the system. Her nodes blinked once, twice, then stopped. "Nothing, no," Ethan whispered. He slammed the panel with his fist. "Come on, don't do this now." Then he saw it, a final command, hidden deep in the code. "Embryo mode, human link required." His hand hovered over the sensor. It wasn't just asking for a command. It was asking for a choice, a bridge. Between species, between trust and transformation. Ethan pressed his palm to the pad. The machine lit up, a pulse of light shot from the core, connecting him and Riha. His mind went white. And then, he saw her. Not her body, not the lab, just her, Riha. Floating in a sea of stars, her memories like drifting sparks. A world of fire, escape, loneliness, hope. And one image repeated over and over, his face, from the night she fell on his doorstep to now. He had become her anchor, her reason. "You're in my mind," Ethan said, amazed. Her voice answered, soft and clear. "You let me live. You chose me when no one else would." The stars around them spun slowly. She reached out, touched his chest. "On my world, we have no word for family," she said. "Only blood, only duty." Then she smiled. "But now I know what it feels like." The light around them faded. Ethan gasped as he returned to his body. The screen blinked green. Her pulse returned, soft but steady. The nodes lit up again, all of them, one by one. Riha opened her eyes. She looked at Ethan, really looked at him, and then she whispered, "You are my family." Ethan sat back, overwhelmed. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. Not from the sky, but from above ground. The war had begun. But deep in the earth, in the broken bones of an old lab, two souls, human and alien, had made something powerful. Not a weapon, not a plan, but a bond, and it was only the beginning. The storm outside was no longer just weather. It was movement, machines, ships in the sky. It was war. Not the kind with flags and marching soldiers, but silent drones above forests, red beams in the night, and code flowing like blood through satellites. Ethan stood at the edge of the broken facility, staring up. The clouds pulsed with unnatural light. Something huge hovered above the tree line, too high to see clearly, but big enough to shake the ground. The enemy had come for Riha. But what they didn't know was, she wasn't running anymore. She stepped beside Ethan, no longer pale, no longer trembling. The light from her chest pulsed steady now, like a second heartbeat. Every silver node across her body was awake. Glowing softly, her presence had changed. She no longer looked like a refugee. She looked like a message that had survived fire. Ethan looked at her. "You sure about this?" he asked. Riha nodded. "This is why I was sent," she said. "But I wasn't meant to deliver it alone." He reached for the communicator they had pulled from the old lab. It was rusted, cracked, probably useless, but Riha touched it. Once, just once, and it lit up. Blue waves danced across its screen like ripples in water. Her signal was inside it now. Her voice, her data, her proof that Earth wasn't forgotten. High above, the tracker command vessel released a low tone. It was a warning, last chance to surrender. A few seconds later, a sharp voice echoed across the sky. "This planet is not protected," it said. "Turn over the carrier and be spared." Ethan raised the communicator to his lips. He didn't speak like a soldier or a leader. He just said what he felt. "She's not a carrier anymore," he said. "She's one of us now." The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. Then, without warning, a beam shot from the ship. It struck the forest nearby, a warning blast that split trees in half. Riha stepped forward. She raised her hands, not in fear, but in focus. Light streamed from her palms, not fire, not weaponry, but data. Old, ancient, alien knowledge. It traveled in pulses, leaping from the earth to the sky, from signal towers to broken satellites. Every device still breathing on Earth began to blink. Old machines turned on. Forgotten labs powered up. Abandoned satellites looked to the stars. She had awakened the network. The one seated on Earth decades ago by her people, buried deep, hidden. Waiting for this exact moment. From the stars above, another signal answered. Then another, and another. Allies far away, awakened by Riha's call. They had been silent for years, afraid to draw fire. But now they heard her voice. A voice carrying human fingerprints, human memory, human choice. The tracker vessel hovered, confused. Its signal jammed, its reach disrupted. Then, without a sound, it began to rise, not defeated by force, but by something more terrifying to them, unity. Ethan turned to Riha. "They're leaving," he said, breathless. Riha didn't smile, but her eyes shimmered with something deeper. "They know. Earth has answered," she said, "and Earth has chosen." The sky cleared slowly, and with it, the silence returned. But it wasn't empty this time. It was full, with possibility. With future, days passed, then weeks. The world changed quietly. New signals were found in deep oceans, desert caves, and frozen ice. Seeds left long ago, by hands that believed in humanity. And Riha became the bridge to all of them. She no longer slept on cold floors. She stood beside Ethan, helping Earth remember who it had always been meant to become. Not rulers, not slaves, but something in between, a species that could hold fire without burning. Riha once said her world had no word for family. Now she had one, not just Ethan, but a planet that took her in, starved and dying, and gave her something. She had never known hope. As the sun rose behind them, golden light washing over new buildings, new labs, new voices learning to speak across galaxies. Riha whispered one last time, "Humanity was my last hope, and now I am theirs."